Hi folks, it's Nikki Jameson here, digital artist from Nikki Jameson Art TV, and today we are going to look at some more brushes in Rebelle 5 Pro. We are going to look at the knife set of brushes today. So these can be found in the oils and acrylics, and you can check my previous videos to see the watercolor brushes and the flat brushes also that are also in the oil and acrylic brushes group. So today we're going to experiment and play around with the knife brushes. You can see them all here, and we're just going to see what they do. And so, as I've said in my previous videos, this is not an attempt to paint a picture. This is just an experiment with these brushes to see what they do. It's a good idea to experiment with brushes yourself if you do get this program and you want to experiment with it, because then when you come to paint you'll have an idea of what these different brushes do before you settle into the one or two that you will you're most certain to like. Okay, so as we've been talking, I've just been playing around with the paint strokes. Here I'm using the knife smooth, and I reset it to its default. I've got it a fairly small size here, and I had the oiliness around sort of 45%. I'm going to increase the oiliness, and we have it on paint and mix at the moment. If I keep it on just paint for now, we're going to see that the strokes can be, quite different. And I'm using a canvas paper. I'll just show you the canvas paper here. I have the CA13 canvas, and you can get a range of canvases from within Rebelle. So really nice papers, and obviously the brushes will interact with the different paper and give you a very different outcome. Okay, so now we are using the knife oily, and I have it as a big brush. I'm going to turn the size down, and this is it as a smaller brush. So these are really great painting knives in my opinion. And even though these are just abstract shapes, there's a lot of versatility here. If I sample a color, because I've just got paint down, it's not mixing it, but if I turn on paint and blend, we might be able to get it to reduce the oiliness to blend here. Make it a dirty brush. So when I put the when I turn on the dirty brush setting here, you'll see that the colors will change there as it's using and mixing in the colors. I'm going to put it back on paint now, and you also have an option to make it a multicolor brush as well. So knife dry. This should be a fairly dry brush, and yes, you can see this is, use a nice bright color here. This is a very dry brush, almost like a thick paint brush, but it's actually an acrylic. Okay, I love that. That's a really nice one, and it's also bringing in the because it's a dirty brush, that color that I used before, it's bringing that in. I don't think I want that, so I'm going to turn that off. Just have the true color there. Okay, that is really nice, and you'd use pretty short strokes with this. Now if I increase the oiliness, you can actually see there's more depth here. Okay, and in the visual settings, this is something that I didn't really do in the last video. You have visual settings for watercolor and visual settings for the different other brush groups. So for the oils and acrylics, you can change the impasto depth, and you can change the amount of gloss on the brush, so you can really get some nice texture there if you want to. Okay, So these are here, and the paper texture for nanopixels for printing out at fairly large sizes. So I wouldn't worry about that for this moment. So that's the impasto depth. I'm going to close that for now, and let's move to the knife soft. Let's pick another color, and I'm going to make this smaller to start with. So knife soft on this particular canvas is even at 41, it gives a really nice stroke here, and it's very oily and has a really nice feel. Why don't we use white here and see what happens? Put that paint down. So if I turn my pen this way, I get this choppy stroke, and if I turn it the other way, or what was I doing before, this way, I'll get a different stroke. And of course, if you move it as a big stroke, you can make a big brush rather, you can make a textury stroke. So this actually might be good for backgrounds or underpainting. I probably wouldn't have it that high up, but there's no end of what you can do with these brushes. Really just showing you this, and it doesn't really do justice to what these brushes can do. And right now we just have it on paint. So if I do paint and blend, yes, I was correct. It is going to attempt to blend this paint together so you can get some lovely abstract. I almost don't want to move off from these brushes. Knife texture. This is one of my favorite brushes. I'm just going to reset that because I have a suspicion it was a smaller brush, and I'm going to use where is my color wheel? Let's use another color. Okay, so this is knife texture, and it should, just in its paint mode, it should actually put or create some additional texture here. I'll make it a little bit more oily. Let's turn that up. So it kind of does. I'm not sure that. Let's see with this white. Yeah, it is interacting with the texture of the canvas. So I think it's more an interaction, and I only have it on paint. So if I was to blend that, you might see a little bit more of that texture coming through. I've just turned my brush slightly on my Wacom, and yeah, it puts down a short stroke here. I'm going to put it back on paint. Get some of that paint down. Sample that. Yeah, this is a very nice choppy textury brush. Yeah, you have to really experiment with this. It's I think short strokes, not long ones, will bring out the texture. You can see how textury it is there. It's a bit similar to this one, so it's very nice. Okay, let's move on to Knife Smooth. Let's choose a different color here. Knife Smooth. Okay, so this is a really smooth brush. This is so nice. Look at that. It's I'm using the previous color, so that's why it's picking that up. Let's use something different here. Yeah, it's a almost too smooth. I'd actually reduce the loading on that one to control it a little bit. And it's up to you whether you want to keep the multicolor or the dirty brush. Just real preference. And this kind of works better as maybe a smaller brush, and depending on how you turn the brush, turn your pen, you'll get a different effect. Okay. That's really nice. I kind of like that. I would play around with that a lot more. Okay, knife texture 2. This is interesting. Knife texture 2. So this one was knife texture. And knife texture 2. Let's be a little bit more creative here, Nick. Okay, knife texture 2 is even more texture. I'll increase the oiliness a bit so we can see. Oh, that's interesting. I actually kind of prefer this one to the knife texture 1, but it's a different brush. It's more textury and it's got more of an edge. And like I said, this is just on paint. And if you're to make it a smaller brush, you can. I feel you can actually control it a bit more. So this can give more of an impressionist kind of feel to things, but it's just similar to one of the brushes I've used before in Cora Paint, a different program. Anyway, it's a bit psychedelic here. All right, knife texture 3. So we have a lot of texture brushes here. Okay, so this is even more textury than the other knife brushes. I'll increase the size and I'll increase the oiliness. We'll see what we get. This is really nice. I like this. You can see how different these brushes are. And don't forget, the canvas makes has a lot of impact on what we create here with these brushes and what these brushes show up as. But you could just really do dabs with this, probably at a smaller size. That's really quite nice. Yeah, I love that. Look at that. I could use this for foliage or, painting trees, and it's very abstract. That's the word I'm looking for here. It's a very abstract brush. Very nice. Okay, that's knife texture 3, and of course you can increase and decrease the attributes of the brush here and get some great texture from this brush. I love it. Alright, knife grainy. This is a brush that is going to interact with the paper grain. Let's reset that and see. So this is pretty cool. Again, this is really bringing out the paper texture here. So I like exploring brush. I actually hardly ever do long explorations like this, but it is really an exercise in discovery. I'm not really drawing anything in particular here, but as I'm doing this, I'm thinking these are brushes I really want to try out in a picture or a painting to see what they do. And this is like a really nice experiment, because when I come to paint pictures, I don't spend this much time going through the brushes. That much is for certain. So this is an opportunity to see what these brushes do. So this is a really abstract shape, but you can see how this could be used for an abstract painting or something. Very short, very sharp strokes, and very it interacts with the texture grain a lot, quite a bit. It's almost papery and very impressionistic. And the more you add, the more it builds. It actually builds on the paint strokes you've laid below. So I'm going pretty fast here. and not really being precious about colour. But you can see here the wonderful texture that's coming out here. Wonderful. Okay, and last but not least we have Knife Stain. I think I remember this one. Yeah, this is almost like a stain. Like, it's not a splatter brush. But let's reset it and see. They might actually have some colour variability here because it's changing colour here. But yeah, this is this is interacting with the paper grain, and it is actually staining. So let's see what happens if we do paint and mix. And if I decrease the loading, you can see more pronounced interaction with the canvas. It's actually great. And let's paint and blend. Let's see. Yeah, you could really blend that nicely in, depending on what you wanted to use this for. Lots of possibilities with this one. It's a brush I wouldn't, unless I knew what it did, I wouldn't even know how to employ it. But this is a pretty good brush, really nice brush. And you can use it to add, you can actually use it to add embellishments, I would say, to your paintings. It's really that good. And of course, if you load it more, add more oil to it, you get this color variability coming out. Okay, so I think we will leave it there. These are the knife brushes in the Oils and Acrylics in Rebelle 5 Pro. I had the pigment mix, use pigment color on, so that meant that where you had, for instance, yellow and blue, it's going to make green. And don't forget, you can change these settings here. You can change the impact of the paper texture. You really can have a lot of fun with these brushes. Okay, so we will leave it there. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you in another video. Take care.